everyone, in this video I'll be discussing partial edge control. This is a somewhat advanced technique, so before watching this video, you should be comfortable with the formation of pairs and how triggers manipulate pieces. In general, the more edges that are oriented in your last layer, the better. Thus, .OLL cases in which there are no oriented edges in your last layer, are usually not very good. Fortunately, you can avoid most of these cases by using partial edge control. This technique is used while inserting your last F2L pair to orient last layer edges, which usually improves the OLL case. Furthermore, different triggers affect the last layer in different ways. So for this method, you insert your last pair with a trigger that orients the most last layer edges. For example, here you can see that inserting this pair normally results in a .OLL case. Alternatively, you can insert this pair with a sledgehammer to orient a couple of edges, resulting in a much better OLL case. The difficult aspect of partial edge control is recognizing which trigger results in the most oriented edges in the last layer. Fortunately, you only have to keep track of the orientation of 4 pieces, so there are only 8 cases total. These I will go over in a moment, but first understand that this applies only when your last F2L pair is already made and is in the top layer like this. Keep in mind that all of this excludes mirrors. Also know that you only need 2 triggers for this. They are U, R, U prime, R prime, which I will call the standard trigger, as well as R prime, F, R, F prime, which is also known as a sledgehammer. You can also use the trigger U2, R, U2, R prime, but this orients the same number of edges as the standard trigger. However, it affects the overall case differently, so sometimes it can still be useful. That said, here are the cases. In this situation, with these 3 edges oriented, you should do the standard trigger, which orients all of the last layer edges. With these 2 edges oriented, both triggers orient the edges in the same way, so it doesn't particularly matter which you do. I find the standard trigger to be easier, so I'd probably just do that. With these 2 oriented edges in the back left, doing a sledgehammer orients all of the edges, so that's the best solution to this case. In this case, with this single oriented edge right here, doing a sledgehammer results in a .OLL case, so doing the standard trigger is better. In this situation, again, both triggers result in a case with 2 oriented edges, so do either one. Same thing with this case in which this single edge is oriented back here, both triggers orient 2 edges, so either one works. Here, with these 2 edges across from each other like this, again, both triggers result in a case with 2 oriented edges, so do what works for you. When no edges are oriented in your last layer, doing a sledgehammer is better, as it orients a couple of edges, unlike the standard trigger, which results in a .OLL case. So those are all the cases. Again, I'm not going over the mirrors of these, but those shouldn't be very hard to figure out for yourself. Of course, you can also use partial edge control when creating an F2L pair. For instance, here, if you did R prime, U prime, R to set up this pair here, you then get a .OLL case after inserting. On the other hand, if you did U, R prime, U prime, R to pair up these pieces, you then get a decent last layer after inserting. Using partial edge control when a pair is not already made is quite a bit more complicated, and it requires that you know more than a single solution to a given F2L case, so I will not be explaining it in this video. Still, it's something you can play around with if you're interested in taking this technique a step further. So that's all for this video. Next time I'll be going over the very closely related subject of multi-slotting, so make sure to look out for that. If you haven't done so already, please click the like button and check out my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.